Yeah. Introductions, everyone knows everyone, I believe. Okay, great. Approval of minutes, so February 21st, Sierra sent those out. I'll make a motion, we accept as emailed. Second by Cameron, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Public comment, nobody from the public here. New business, Groton Utilities, Aaron sent that out. I don't know if you wanted to comment.
Sure, if you don't, I can comment on a couple things.
Yeah, please.
So I did submit a report. I'll just kind of go through it very, very quickly. So one of the things I always include is kind of some customer accounts broken down by different sectors. I think the takeaway here is that we've seen growth in the residential sector. Much of the development that we see, I think, is residential complexes. We still haven't recovered on the commercial sector. We peaked out probably just prior to COVID, and it just hasn't really recovered, at least from the utility perspective. Our rates continue to be basically leading the state, either the first or second lowest in the entire state.
Really impressive.
Saving our customers, over $780 a year compared to our Eversource neighbors. So it's a great economic driver, because that's true across the board, whether it's commercial, industrial, or residential. Our conservation programs continue to really be pretty aggressive. In 2023, we capped off the year and we incentivized over $1.6 million worth of conservation work in Groton Utilities territory alone. So it's just amazing the work that we've been able to do along with our customers.
Yeah, and I noticed the little section on, or the little line item on smart thermostats.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any idea how much that saves in, saves the consumer by installing those? And
Sure.
do we know what the rebate is? Or folks, I'd love to tell about.
I know what the rebate is. So it's $200. You can actually per thermostat, you can get up to 3 thermostats depending on how many zones are in your home. So that's the rebate. As far as savings, it really depends how good you are with, because you could have a programmable thermostat that in theory saves the exact same. So it just depends how good you are with your programmable thermostat, or how good you are with your habits, about turning it down when you leave the house and so forth. If you're good about that, then there's probably no difference. But if you forget to turn it down at night, or you forget to turn it down when you leave the house, that's where the smart thermostat can probably help you out, because it will basically do it for you.
I'm sorry, were we on the second one? Did you finish answering his question before I?
Did I finish?
For the bullet point, like the most popular rebates, is this only residential, or is it residential and commercial?
For the program, this is, well, so when we talk about numbers, we're talking across the board.
Okay.
So it includes commercial and industrial.
So I think that I've done the home energy audit twice. Thank you very much. I think that's a sneaky little treat that nobody takes advantage of.
Yeah.
I mean, it's that alone, not even smart thermostats, it's awesome, that has saved me tons.
Okay.
And that's a completely free program to all of our customers.
Yeah, I know, and that would also be one I think that would be worth mentioning to our business owners, especially given where some of them.
It's not available.
Oh, that's the reason, he just asked the
It's-
question if it's just residential.
For that program,
that program.
that program is a residential.
Okay, that's cool, that works.
Yeah, that works.
No, that's fine. Thanks for clarifying. She just asked if it was available for residential and both commercial.
Oh, specifically for Hess. I'm sorry. I
Or,
thought you meant.
I was asking for all three, but I guess
Yeah.
that one is just residential, but the HVAC mini splits, smart thermostats will be available for both, are available. for
So
both.
on the commercial side, the primary programs are gonna be lighting, which is actually still a big program for our commercial sector. We do have an HVAC hot water heater incentive on the commercial side as well.
Okay.
But the home energy savings program, which is the audit that you were discussing, insulation, those are residential specific programs.
Do you offer a commercial audit? for energy savings like that?
not at this time.
No.
No.
You have to go to third party for,
Well, it honestly, it gets a significantly more challenging to quantify. A residential home, it's easy to seal up the house, do a blower door test, know what your air leakage is before and after. When you start getting into a strip mall, or you start getting into places that have significantly more square footage and more access points,
sure,
it becomes much harder to quantify.
Yeah, but what I
That's-
was
that's true.
thinking, I'm sorry, what I was thinking about was a place like Allianz Bayes or Angelique's, where they're in, it's a business, but it's in
In
a
a residential-like building,
building.
Yeah.
right? And
That's okay, no, I'm just thinking.
Well, what if they live upstairs and downstairs like on the leaks, it's her shop?
so a residential-like building, it would be possible. Where the discussions, not to get into the weeds too much, but essentially the discussions there is, should I be treating one commercial entity different than another commercial entity? So that's the struggle.
That's okay, we'll just, thank you for clarifying all that. That's
Yeah.
good.
No problem. And then, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Neighborhood Assistance Act, but I'll just kind of leave off on that. It's something that Groton Utilities basically sponsors every year. It's a tax incentive grant program through the state of Connecticut. We are fortunate enough to be able to sponsor that and help our nonprofits achieve some energy efficiency projects. So it's a great program. It's for nonprofits specifically. But Groton Utilities is able to sponsor those nonprofits through that tax program.
Is this something that we could share out in the newsletter of the tax program information?
Sure.
Could I also?
Or any not-for-profit can participate.
Okay. Can I also bug you for following up for, the language for the commercial programs for lighting and the HVAC heater? I would also like to include that in our
Yeah, I can have.
newsletter that goes out to the
Yeah,
business.
you can send it over. And that sums up the report.
Any other question?
Other questions? We'll move on to the vacant commercial window display.
Okay, so the general idea of this is we have a number of vacant properties throughout the city. We also have a new branding initiative, Groton City History Making, that kind of got off the ground. Recently just got off the ground. So we were considering throughout this entire process to maybe partner with commercial property owners and put images within those vacant display windows, either to connect with the realtor or property owner to explore the options there, but then also just to have general community outreach and feedback. So there was just this discussion and idea of a project, but I wanted to bring it to us to see, since we're gonna be doing outreach and we're doing a lot of placemaking projects, if we wanna take this on of actually doing that initial outreach, designing the windows and getting them put up around the city. So that'd be a
Would
commission.
that be similar to what some of the buildings on Main Street have already done, with the big photos on some of the?
Yes.
Okay.
you're talking about putting artwork or putting displays in windows of vacant.
Commercial.
My only reservation. And I'll be careful how I word this, but my only reservation is. If the city wants to lay hands on privately owned commercial properties. That are vacant. There may be some gray area perceived by the property owner. In terms of upkeep and improvement of those buildings. If the city somehow becomes in any way responsible for the appearance of the building. Does that make sense? The city would have a hard time upholding an expectation of the property owners to maintain the appearance of the building. If the city itself is improving the appearance of the building. like the city would take over the responsibility for making the building look less like blight, or, heading in
I
that
don't think
direction.
that's what this is about, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say, it wouldn't be taking it that far, like the property owner is still, they're willing, they can still apply for the minor facade improvement grant, which will help address that facade, but we are just going to be asking to display something in their windows.
I'm with you. I understand our
Mhm.
perspective on that. I'm just saying that, a property owner could decide to make this work to their advantage if they are unwilling to, in any other way, maintain the appearance of the building. And the city decides to beautify it essentially by putting a display in the windows, that it would be harder for the city to then go after that property owner for other aspects of the appearance of the building. I'm playing devil's advocate here because of the relationship we have with some property owners and the state of the appearance of the buildings.
I can follow up with the blight enforcement officer. We can discuss the program and then follow up with the blight enforcement officer, whether or not what our proposed activity would, if it would interfere with anything.
I certainly like the idea. I'm just, concerned that it might make a situation that we didn't expect. Yeah.
I would also suggest that before we say, yes, let's go ahead with this project, I think approaching some of the property owners, because there's some property owners that own multiple properties, which I think this could, this would be a good candidate for a program like this. I think approaching them just to see whether or not they would even, be open to such a program would be worthwhile, just because we don't want to put in all this time and effort just for someone to say no,
Right.
it's worthwhile. And again, talking about relationships, between the city and some of these particular property owners, I think it's worthwhile to get engaged first. I think the idea is good, and, for example, like on Main Street with cameras, which that's noticeable, like those pictures in the window is noticeable, like,
Yeah.
draws your attention, so I think doing stuff like that makes sense. But let's get some, soft buy-in.
Are there any willing commissioners to lead us through gauging interest for this?
As in like reach out to the builders?
So these aren't business owners, these are property owners.
Yeah.
Do we have that list of people?
We
We have the list of business owners.
We do, and then we do have all the property owners, it is within GIS, and we are in the. I have to file the lid, but I do believe our blue dot has been updated with all the commercial property owners as well. But if it's not, we can always go to GIS.
I think I commented on the fact that sometimes there's multiple addresses, listed, and so we don't know who is current, but it's there, the information's there. It's just-
Is there a general idea of what we're gonna, is there like a specific target we're looking at, like, the businesses, the properties specifically on Main Street or specifically on Mitchell Street, like the big properties, or is this kind of a blanketed approach?
I would say blanketed approach, I was originally thinking Bridge Street, Main Street, and Five Corner, Five Corner, Sopaquan Road.
And did you have any examples of sort of art that we don't know? Because that's the first thing, at least the second thing an owner would ask. Okay, what are you asking me here? What's gonna be in my, what will it look like?
I do think we do still need to, the design needs to be kind of fleshed out, but I can try to pull up an example.
I'm thinking, if I made a call, the guy would say, well, who are you and why is this a good idea and why are you calling me?
Right.
And I figure I could just answer those pretty easily, but if he seems amenable to the idea, then says, well, okay, what does my window look like? And then I have to be able to say, well, why don't I send you a picture or mock-up,
And the other thing with the windows is, the other reason why it is good for us to gauge interest is depending on what the window is, we have to create each sign for each property. Because how we hang and display it, if it's on the inside, outside, all that needs to be just kind of a little bit more fleshed out. And I'm sorry. Maybe put my hand on it a little bit quicker than this, but I will follow up with.
Are you thinking about things that are related to the branding of the city or things that are like historical photos or?
Well, so
So-
right now I know there are some historic photos. I know Gem Streeter did those and has those set up. This was more so, it could be the historic photos or it could be kind of just like Groton City history making, like, can you envision your business here or some kind of gauge more interest for that property to actually.
I mean, there are a
be
couple of
getting more.
buildings, there are a couple of buildings on Thames Street that would make fantastic restaurants, in fact.
Or something, it could
Used
be,
to be restaurants, and maybe a picture from some cafe, and would inspire somebody to put some money in.
and if we could line that up with the eligible uses that are within each zone that are allowed there,
If the business, if the property owner is interested in bringing businesses there.
yeah.
Yeah, that's.
That's
the other way.
Interested in bringing business in.
This is spaghetti on the wall right now, so definitely a lot of questions to be researched and addressed.
Can I ask a question?
Mhm.
So do we know that these owners are actively marketing for tenants and or sale?
The commercial is kind of. Our commercial is kind of really hit and miss. I don't know, Fallon, as a commercial realtor, do you want to speak on Groton's listings and how things are?
So some of them are listed and some of them aren't. I am still going up and down Thames Street. I'm working more at the Avery Market right now, and trying to help him get those two vacant, leased. And I have a young lady, I've been working with her, and she wants to bring a cafe over there. So that's where I'm at right now over there. I did go look at a property, one of Matt's properties. He has, I don't think it's listed, but he has a property down there. So it's a little mixed. So I'm still working up and down the street.
Thank you for that. Yeah, some are listed, some are more are not listed than are listed. And then some of it is more so just word of mouth,
Right.
kind of thing. So we are trying to encourage property owners to at least inform us of what's available, so we could share it out if they're interested. But this would just be another way to take that information to the next level
Right,
once we have it.
because at the end of the day, you're really trying to get it marketed to the next leaseholder.
Yeah,
So anything we can do to aid in that process to match, to marry, right, the lease with the leaser.
Yeah.
Would be fantastic.
so whether they walk in our doors or they come across our paths as we're talking about the city, or whether they're just walking by the building itself, anything that we can do to help get the word out there and what is available, but. Any takers on further exploring this, or?
I think it'd be helpful to have, I mean, if you're releasing us to search GIS and discover property owners that way, that's one way to do it. If you have a list and you have examples, give you a chance to follow up and find them. I'd say it might be helpful for us to know who owns what and where, and something that you had in mind, so that you're not left to Jason's description of what art could be in a window. I might describe it completely different than Sean would, same picture.
If we're prepared, we could close a sale, if you will, but with the phone conversation, the last thing we want is calling up somebody, going back and forth, not knowing what we're offering, not knowing how much it costs, not knowing how we go about it. I mean, a property owner says, well, how are you going to install this? Do I have to be there? Is it stuck to my windows? Am I stuck with this forever? know, you have to answer all those questions, and if you can tick them all off and say, hey, let's do this. You know. That's the best outcome. But the worst outcome is to say, well, can I get back to you? You know, he hangs up and says, who are these guys?
I think so, yeah, I think it sounds like we, need a little bit more information, but assuming Sierra can provide all that information, I think that the question is, who's willing to? Sounds like you might be willing to make the call if you're prepared.
Listen, if you go in, Ken, if you go in, I'll go in.
I'll help, yeah, I will.
You guys are willing to
Yeah.
do the outreach, but not willing to help with the research?
I don't understand what the research is though.
All the questions, like all the questions and everything that we're asking here, just to start to try to formalize it
So,
into an actual
actually, quick
program.
question. How far along with this would you say you are? Like, do you have like, this is what we want to do, like examples of that? Because if we have that information, I feel like it'd be easier for us to buy into it. If we know, like, this is what you expect of us to do. But if this is just a general idea and I don't know exactly the direction, then like, I think that opens the door for us to have that conversation of, okay, what do we think is best for us to do? And then that would be a much more longer form conversation of maybe next meeting, we talk about it much more informed, and then the meeting after that, we start talking about research. But
You know,
It's the latter, it's not thought out.
yeah, what I'm hearing is that there's a lot of willingness to go make calls, which is, the outreach part, but
Mhm.
I don't even know what we're really talking about yet. I'd like to know more. I have a wife who just loves researching stuff like this. She's an internet genius. Come up with extraordinary stuff. So if you and I can maybe knock back and forth some ideas and then share them at our next meeting, I think we could probably do something.
Okay.
So, really good idea. Let's just define it and make sure we can go through a checklist of questions with potential partners.
It's less a lack of willingness to do cold calls and door knocks. It's more that I would expect to pitch the same program that Cameron does, that Margaret does, that,
Yeah,
Mhm.
rather than me start a conversation, armed with a little information and willingness to, and then I might come up with promises that, yeah, they're all gonna be installed from the outside. You don't have to do a thing, And then we can't make those type of, that be installed with tape from the inside. You know what I mean? Like,
oh, this is
those sort
what I'm
of
talking about.
questions, right?
I would love to make a call to this former restaurant that's owned by the Lobster, the Lobster Company and the restaurant are the same property.
Mhm, yep.
Well, that doesn't have big picture windows. That's got little square windows. And what are you doing there? I mean, that could be an unbelievably attractive property
Mhm.
for somebody.
so I think what's best with this is maybe we kick it off to next meeting, so we have some time to think individually about what maybe ideas that we individually have, and then we can come back next meeting and discuss them further if that's what you was thinking.
So I got that, and Mike, do you still want to follow up beforehand, or do you want to just wait and ponder it? You feel free to reach out to me and ask questions, but
Well,
you want to take the rest of March just to brainstorm this out a little bit
yeah,
more?
let's do that.
Okay,
But somebody's got to do some basic research at the beginning.
Do you think that you have examples from, say, other cities or towns that you have in mind?
I do
That
not
might
have
be good enough.
examples from other cities and towns. I have an example from Miranda Creative of implementing the Groton City history and making innate window.
Okay,
Well,
because if we have that kind of as a theme to work with,
Okay, I can send
know.
out that because it's just one image. I can send
Yeah.
out that image.
well, I can't remember the names of these towns, but every year I drive through Pennsylvania and pull off these different little towns. Half of them, are, have empty, abandoned, beautiful, great storefronts, but empty. And some of the towns have put what you're talking about, these posters in the picture. So you have restaurants and bakeries and what have you. They're just pictures and windows, which is, there's a creepy element to it too, so we have to consider that.
Yeah.
there's one that in Pennsylvania, coincidentally, that I passed that had fooled me the first time I drove by, because it had like maybe people painted on the inside of the windows.
Yeah,
And I thought at first that it was busy in there, but weird, the lights were off. And then I had to drive by it a second time with different lighting or something before I realized they were all two-dimensional painted little silhouettes on the window.
I actually called into a place, was, this looks great. It's on the car, and it's, you know, it's at the Tempting Village.
Got very Stephen King all of a sudden.
Yeah.
So I'll share out an image of what Miranda Creator gave us, and then we will table this to the next meeting, and then between there, we can brainstorm ideas. Feel free to email me if you have questions or ideas that you just want me to kind of just keep a note of everything that we're talking about. That is all I have.
Next up is business outreach update from commissioners. I'll start and say that I've been flat out and have not reached out to my business, but if anyone else has.
So I did reach out to my so I did get the name of the person that I need to reach out to
Yeah.
at my business.
Okay.
Our schedules have not coincided yet, hopefully next week or so, but I did reach out to Mike at Park Ward. He
Okay.
applied for this sector
Mhm.
grant and was rejected from the Senate grant. So I've suggested that he follow back up with them to get some feedback on the grant application and what they're actually looking for. I think the first person that he reached out to there was not very helpful. The second person, which was right before he submitted it, was much more helpful. They're probably a little bit late in the game and could have gotten a little bit better guidance, but
Okay.
so he's gonna reach out.
Is he still thinking of expanding the space for more events and stuff?
Mhm.
Okay, all right.
I spend a lot of time at Park Ward.
Yeah,
Okay, well, that's good feedback.
so yeah, so I just want, that happened on Monday.
Okay. But he's still interested in doing the project
Yeah.
and, okay, all right. Okay. Thank you for that.
I've updated without that.
Gold star. Gold star for my.
Not my person, but I did talk to somebody.
I wasn't able to make it to my person, but again, like I said, I've been working the Avery Market area. The owner of Avery Market was able to introduce me to the owner of the liquor store. I don't know if you've rode by there and saw their sign, but his sign is half down. So I did go over there and explain what the council has to offer for him. And he actually is going to start looking into that. And that was actually yesterday. So I'm not sure, how far he got with that. And also over there, as far as the two vacant storefronts that they have, the young lady is deciding between the two of them, which one she kind of wants to go with, which one needs the less work. Actually, as you both know, as you guys know, they've been vacant for a really long time. So we've been in there back and forth to see really what needs to go on. But she does want to stay in that area. She wants to stay in Groton. So we are trying to make it work for her.
Does she, is this a new cafe or was she
Yeah.
already established somewhere else?
Nope, that she is completely new. She has worked in the coffee business for a while, so she is going out on her own. They will have products in there. It's just her and her husband for now. They will have products in there. She said that she does want to try to engage the community with poetry slams, if she can put that in the area some type of way for the young people or for, just adults. She really wants it. She said she's been in the Massachusetts area, the Boston area. She saw the feel of the cafes there, and she kind of wants to bring that to the area. So that is her goal.
Okay.
That would be awesome.
Yeah,
So we are working.
I would say while you're working with her,
Mhm.
make sure you mention the Women's Business Development Council.
I did.
We
Yes.
do have a launchpad program that awards up to $2,500 for brand new businesses. So if you're less than a year old, you can get that grant. They also are in a current round of their Ignite program. She may not be eligible for this and she is brand new. But if you've been in business for at least 2 years, you can apply to that and you can get up to 10 grand on that program. And that their current round ends on March 14th. So in case you guys didn't know any other women-owned businesses that may want to take advantage of that.
Thank you.
And also, encourage her as soon as she makes a decision on which storefront she's going to, use to get in touch with our building and zoning office.
Okay.
And also, if she does decide to do that programming piece, we may have to get her connected with the city planner just to make sure the use is, it's zoned for the appropriate usage.
Okay.
Hey Fallon, why did she pick that place near Avery Market rather than one of the long empty buildings down near the boat works?
She liked that area because she liked that Pfizer EB area right there. And then she also felt because the other, am I saying it correctly? Twisted Misty, because it, she thought that maybe that area, she had that area, so she wanted to come a little further down.
Okay.
And catch
So not really
maybe.
competing too much.
Right, she didn't want to compete with her, and she kind of wanted to catch the Pfizer crowd that's coming out that may not want to go as far down to Dunkin' Donuts. So,
Or down on the same street where there's no parking.
right, and that was another thing too, because we did look at one building on Thames Street, and the parking, it just wasn't. She wasn't. Yeah.
Well, thank you for that. I'm looking forward to hearing that she made a decision for the city of Groton location, potentially.
She does want to stay. They do want to stay in Groton. They do live in Groton. He does work at EB. So, and they do want to stay in Groton. That is their goal. They said they didn't want to go anywhere else but Groton.
Awesome. Okay. Love it, love it. Any other updates on your end, or that's it, right?
That's it.
Okay. Anyone else? All right, I will add, so there is a new business going in at 105 Bridge Street. It is going to be a convenience store / deli, better known to the establishers as a bodega. They will be they look to offer Spanish and soul food as their cuisine options. And it's right in between, you guys know where the dental office, distillery, Two Sisters Shipping, she's right in that same strip plaza. So they also actually are employees of Electric Boat, looking to expand into the city and want to stay in the city. So I will keep you posted. They are interested in the minor facade improvement grant. They're in the middle of renovating the entire space. So I will keep you guys posted on how that all unfolds.
That's great too.
Are they going into the old Two Sisters?
They're
Like in between that and the haircut place? Or on the other side?
I gotta look at that.
That's-
It was 105. Sure, it's
105.
I'm about to say, yeah, 105, because I think Two Sisters went into the old Quick and Stop, so maybe
Yep,
they are
exactly.
going into the old Two Sisters
And then
location.
there's like something's empty next to that.
I'm about to say that plaza gets me
Yeah.
confused sometimes, there's a lot going on over there.
I think you're right. I mean, it's in that same plaza. So. Looks like it's between Two Sisters and Wichita.
Mhm.
And again, that whole building has the same building number, so.
Yeah. I don't exactly know the unit number, yeah. Also, there is a new business on Thames Street. 501 Thames Street is the Submarine Sandwich Nation. They had their grand opening this Monday.
510.
Yeah.
510, I'm sorry, 510 Thames Street. And things have been a little bit hectic as they're getting things situated with their opening, but I will be following up with the property owners to talk to them about a few, things.
They are open.
They are officially open, yes, and they have been, definitely, I guess, between 10:30, 10 and 2 is their busiest time. They have been apparently slammed for the last couple of days.
Really?
Opening, which is great. Yes. EB has been supporting them very well. With this opening, so, yeah.
Any, no, update on the ordinance.
It was approved by council.
In effect, good to go, or?
In effect, good to go. I do have to touch back base with the city clerk, because I do believe she has to run one more legal advertisement for that, but yes, it is
But it's-
final.
Okay. With that in mind, we can then go to our long-awaited bylaw revisions. Because we had to wait for that ordinance to be passed, so that we are authorized to then change our bylaws. I think it's worthwhile, it was included, but it's probably worthwhile to go through, especially because we have a new member, to go through and talk about some of those changes. I think it isn't too long of a document, so it shouldn't take too long. But if everyone has it up, we can quickly go through it. Section 1, I believe, is mostly just grammatical for most of it, and just, you know, again, putting in some words that weren't necessarily in there that are used later on.
For section 1, I think there needs to be commas between physical environment and general economic resources. I think it's just commas.
Yeah, I've gone through it, but I don't have it.
I think it's supposed to be enhance the physical environment and general economic resources. Yeah, one phrase, yep. I think in there, the only actual content that was added was authorized by the ordinance. The only thing that we should probably do is change that date to the date that it was actually. Section 2, again, just changing the, from the office of the mayor to planning and economic development. Section 3 is when we actually change some real content. This is where we basically changed, the membership section to actually reflect the state statute. So the previous bylaws sort of come up with their own, but as you can see in that second section, we reference the state statutes that does say cannot be less than 5 or more than 15. And then, can include 2 alternates. So we basically are aligning that with state statute. But the rest of it is pretty much the same. We eliminated the piece shall be appointed by the mayor. Then we must have added that. Mayor has appointed new members. Yeah, because it says it above that. Member shall be appointed by the mayor. Such point number 2 is just being grammatical. So then going into section 4, we just I think we just cleaned up the grammar here because again, it said that the secretary. I think the secretary moved from optional, we moved that to we must have one, if I remember correctly here. It was only a chairman that was mandatory, but a secretary should also be mandatory, so we included that as well. We had that, then we changed the timeline to concurrent with the fiscal year, which is, I believe, the current schedule that we were following, even though it's not technically what the bylaws were saying. In that second section, just eliminated that 2 or more offices may be held by the same person. I think mostly because that would only apply to the chair and secretary, and you don't want those people to be the same. In 4, we added another member of the commission because technically a vice chairman is optional. So if there is no vice chairman, we would want someone else to be able to step into the role of chair. That's the same in item number 5. In the absence of secretary, another member shall perform the duties of the secretary. So again, the same thing there. Just making sure that somebody can serve in that role. And then we eliminated number 6, I think, just because we didn't see that it was necessary in a prior section. We said that we can vote in additional officers by majority vote. So 6 was just repetitive. I think.
Sorry.
Oh,
No, I saw a little thing I needed to edit on.
Okay, all right. Then section 5, this was where I think sort of the funniest issue was before, where it had the wrong numbers in there. The only other piece we eliminated was the by mail option, just because at this point it really is personally or electronically that people should be informed of.
No, that was the same. I was just number 4. It looks like it's 34 on my sheet, and I was just wondering if it was just me or if that really looked that way.
4 has a strike through, but it looks kind of like the way some people make 4, so.
Okay.
The underlined is the red ink that we're keeping.
Sorry to disturb.
Yeah, that's okay. We reduced the quorum there just because now technically the commission could have 5 members, so 3 is still more than half at its minimum, but 4 is quite a bit. And I do think that's also in line with the state statute. 6 just corrects the.
Instead of it going to the office of the mayor, it will come to the planning and economic development office.
And then section 6, just grammatical. We just corrected some of the numbering.
Yes, for the section.
Well, actually, section 7 is funding.
We had 2 section 7.
Oh, that's what it was. Yep. And now section 8 is amendment section.
Yeah, and no section 8 before it. When 779.
And so the only other change would be on the cover page. So I don't think it was included here. Yeah, just. So, thank you for bearing with me through that. Any comments or anything here?
Yeah, I mean, for those that are seeing this for the first time, what we really tried to do, the authorizing document is the ordinance. Really, it starts with the state general statute that says you have a commission, and these are the very small boundaries that the state provides. The ordinance should have reflected that. We updated the ordinance to reflect that more accurately. And then the bylaws, original bylaws took kind of a weird turn and added more restrictive language, boundaries, membership especially. So we just basically aligned the ordinance and the bylaws to the general statutes. It really made life easier for the commission to exist when there's a lull in membership. Because we found ourselves with 4 people and the bylaws said you had to have 4 for a quorum. And so nobody could miss a meeting and still have a meeting. So.
I just realized this was 10 years ago that they did the original one.
Well, I guess it was not enough. So I think there was maybe one potential, so just the one date in section 1 that needs to be updated, and then of course the cover sheet, which we don't have. So.
Well, you also have the top of, is that you're talking about the top of the first page? Not just
Effective.
section 1 in the header of the.
Oh, yes, effective, yep, effective, it's a. So there's those 3 dates that needs to be updated.
What's the third?
So there's the cover page, which I don't think is included on this, there's just a cover page that says, I think, the bylaws. Or no, it just starts like this. Okay, so no cover page.
That's what I was saying, cover
okay.
page.
Well,
Do
so
we
then.
need a cover page?
So if you go to section 9, effective date, it does mention an effective date on the cover page.
Yep. And can we also get the new logo on the cover page?
Nice.
So we do, okay, so add a cover page.
Or none of the, or at least in the
Could we
header,
just,
in the header of the first page, can we
Yeah.
get the new logo?
you want Groton City history in the making?
Or is this still the official logo?
This is still the official logo.
Okay, never mind.
Yeah.
Seal, and then, yep, then we're good.
I think
With that date that says.
Do we have to do a cover page?
I think it's just.
Either a cover
words.
page or you amend the words in section.
Yeah, one of the two.
Could we amend the words?
I think, yeah, I mean, why don't you amend it instead of on the cover page to the header, shall clearly specify the effective date on the header of each page,
In the head.
in the header.
This bylaw shall take effect immediately upon adoption by the commission. All photocopies reproduced thereof shall clearly specify the effective date, period.
Oh, there you go, yeah.
Okay.
Period.
In some way, shape, or form, I think.
Yeah,
The header would accomplish that nicely, so.
yeah.
I move that we accept these bylaws as amended with the noted exception of changing the date in section 1, the date in the header to reflect the effective date, and removing the words on the cover page from section 9.
Second.
Additional discussion. Okay, all those in favor? Those abstentions? Okay, motion carries. That was a long time in the making.
Congratulations.
All right, that's good. Unfortunately, on the next one, I think we still have an edit that we need to make.
I got it.
Yeah, no problem. The next one was approving the EDC grant program policies and procedures. The first item there, which we had put in, but then decided to remove, which was the 25% match, is still included here. However, if that is the only potential issue, then maybe we can approve it, just removing that one section. I do know in our last discussion, we talked about the taxes.
Whether to.
If sales taxes are included.
Yeah, so we may have to talk about, so we may not be able to vote on this tonight, so I think Sarah, on the first page, we do want to get rid of the applicant must show a 25% match.
Okay.
So if we can eliminate that, please, we agreed on that.
Mhm.
And then I think eligible or going to ineligible costs, which is on page 3.
Mhm.
It just says payment of taxes. So we may want to just. We may want to take the taxes and put it where it says fees, so payment of. City, town, state, federal. That's a state tax.
You can always say excluding sales tax.
Yeah, okay, yeah, so maybe at the end of that sentence, just other than sales tax.
You could add, just to make it as clear as possible, you could add sales taxes related to the, content of the application. I'm making that too wordy, but you could say that sales tax, related sales taxes are eligible. And then in the ineligible costs, you say payment of other taxes, or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just so,
Yeah, so as opposed to adding it to the
Yeah.
ineligible, you can add it to eligible.
Yeah, sales tax is eligible and then other taxes are not eligible.
Okay, so maybe leave, the payment of taxes piece and ineligible, that can just stay as it is, because it's still pretty broad, and then we can.
I would only say that you might want to throw the word other in there so that it didn't contradict the eligible taxes.
So payment of other taxes
Yes.
or city tax, okay.
And then adding sales tax to the.
Sales tax related to project?
Yeah, related,
Under-
related sales taxes or something.
Related sales taxes.
All right. All right, got those notes. Two things came up during staff review of this policy. One being, for eligible cost. Do we want to allow property owners or business tenants to activate their windows, so we talked about window displays. So what if the property owner actually wants to like put tables and chairs or something in their facade display to activate it from the inside? Is that something that we want to consider as an allowed eligible use? And I can further explain this because I see questions.
No,
But
it's, if you go and do a search on what we were talking about earlier about the window art and making, one of the things that comes up is exactly what she's talking about. Is some sort of three-dimensional display on the inside of the window as opposed to just a flat two-dimensional piece of art.
I think. we
or
should-
something that encourages people to utilize
Yes.
that
You
window
know, I think
space.
that anything that enhances the marketability of a place or improves its appearance, we should look at favorably.
The only other question I would have is whether, that if that's a temporary installment, we wanna pay for a temporary installment.
Well, I was about to
versus a
say,
Permanent one.
it is not either eligible or ineligible based on the wording, which would leave it up to us, and I almost wanna keep it that way.
Yeah.
Because, it very clearly says, other improvements pre-approved by planning and economic development department. I think that's important for
Yes.
this particular thing, because exactly to that point, if it's temporary, similar to like how we put in, landscaping can't be, like an annual, it's gotta be.
Sure,
It's gotta
sure.
be permanent, and so I think this allows us, again, that pre-approval by planning economic development, which could also include us. I think that it's important to keep that part vague, so the answer to the question by staff is, it depends, and I think that's where we wanna get the pre-approval of that project before it's put to fruition. We would be open to it, but only, if it's permanent.
So,
Permanent and meets all the other things that this commission doesn't regulate, like
Yeah.
building code issues and,
so we're not necessarily adding it, but we're just making a mental note for us that we will be willing to explore the activation of a window front.
I think we're open to it, and it is purposely fitting into the other category of our eligible costs. And just a quick note for you, there's also on page 7, a second section for eligible costs, so we should probably include that. Probably unnecessary that it's all listed twice, but it is.
Well, because this lists both for, wait,
It's a section 5, just the
Yeah.
entire document. And this is in the policies and procedures, that's why it's technically a different document.
yes,
So the policy and procedures piece, so just, we should include that there, same thing, eligible costs, related sales taxes and ineligible costs. We have payment of taxes, so we should just add payment of other taxes.
okay. Alright, so the earlier edits, put them in both
Yeah, in
documents.
both.
And then what I just asked
Oh,
about the activation of the
okay.
window space, we don't need to add text, we're just, as a commission saying, we will consider those applicants as they.
what I would do is here, just to make this a little less confusing, is, the first few pages. The first 4 pages looks like are truly the submission checklist, which is what the header says.
Okay,
Do you agree? Because once you get into the policy and procedure section, I think the header should change to something other than submission checklist.
okay,
It just might help clear up that confusion.
Why it's listed twice, that's what.
yeah, okay, I will,
Does this also need an effective date? On the header?
I actually should have an effective date.
Revision control. So,
Right, so that was that, other stuff,
Applicants shouldn't be a possessive. Applicants are responsible, no apostrophe to the S.
What page are we on?
What section? Oh, he's right at the top.
Yeah, you may want to take a deeper look at this if you've already got something like that, and see if there's any other grammatical potential issues here.
where did you find that?
In the red text at the very top.
You know, the first sentence, real red text, applicants shouldn't be possessive, should be the plural.
Oh, okay, on page
Applicants are
2.
responsible
Page
to
2,
ensure all
I got you,
required
I'm with you.
permits have been obtained.
I hadn't seen it before,
It's
now
either-
I'm twitching, thank you, Brett.
It's either work is complete or works are complete, depending on.
Think you need to take calls.
I think we need grammatical review.
Yeah.
Mike, you're hired.
Yeah.
That.
Yeah. It's only 11 pages. And I will say, just bring attention again, you know, Sierra did a great job.
The door was locked,
These double doors or the outside door?
the double doors, Jim Streeter's out there and a
Okay.
couple other people.
I think that
Alright.
meeting's at 7.
Yeah, I was gonna say, just for a heads up, that meeting doesn't start until 7 o'clock, so we're still in the EDC meeting.
I think it was only at 6:30.
Yeah, so-
7 o'clock tonight.
Oh. So.
I'll be.
Just for, I look forward to you guys come back, but. Okay.
Sorry.
No, it's okay.
You guys can still hang out.
Sierra did a great job on page 10 of the timeline and the checklist that we asked her to put in there, administrative review, that was all great. And I would encourage us as commissioners, when we are explaining this program to business owners, to point that out, because I think that's very important. To show them what the timeline looks like in the checklist. I think that answers a lot of questions.
Yeah.
Well, maybe, I commented on
There's
all
one
this.
thing I need to add there is the insurance.
Yeah, I think, I was actually thinking that, Jason, that, you know, almost this part, the timeline and the checklist should almost go at the end of the checklist before the policies and procedures. Like it almost fits in there more than it is, because it's not necessarily a policy, that's just factual of what it looks like. So I wonder if, you know, the information starting in item 9, item 10, and the please note should actually go at the end of the checklist and before the policies and procedures. What are our thoughts there?
I think that makes sense.
Okay, so we can move. Checklist. And the other thing I'm noticing, so the mayor and council kind of have switched up their meetings this year. So they are now offering 2 cows a month on the 2nd and the 4th Mondays. So, that may
Okay.
make some of this timeline, that honestly helps our program to
Yeah,
implement things
makes sense.
quicker, but we might not have to include all the language within this timeline, or we can keep it in.
I think it
Okay.
helps us because it is, you know, it allows us to. I think we can give them a longer timeline, and then if they get their check earlier, they're gonna be happy. So I think if we go, you know, under promise, over deliver, let's go, I think.
Yeah, and this only mentions that the mayor and councils are on the 1st and 3rd Monday, so that's still.
But you could
That's
choose to take out both of those in D and E, you could take out which typically take place comments, you know. And that for that matter.
I agree with Jason. I think that'll make it easier to revise as well. I mean, that if the committee changes when they meet, we won't have to look at this and change that, you know?
Yeah,
But
I
I
don't
mean, in
know.
the spirit of that being in the less formal language checklist section. Going back on my own comment, it might be helpful to have that sort of information in there. You know, quick reference guide, oh, by the way, we meet first Wednesday, they meet second, fourth Friday, or Wednesday, whatever, but Monday, but. I don't know, how do you feel about it? This document, I think, is living enough that it's not like, bylaws that get updated once every 10 years.
Yeah,
I think we could reasonably expect to revisit this in 6 months if we bungle it up and we, the beta test fails, and then we go back and say, okay, well, that was written funny.
Yeah.
Right.
yeah, I think that.
Planning and zoning doesn't start until 7, so we're still in the EDC meeting right now. just
Oh, I
giving
didn't
you a heads up.
know. So it's 6.
I would say, yeah, move it, I'm sort of of the opinion that I think if we update it to what it is right now, I think that's an easy vote for us to update it again if those meetings change. But again, it's helpful to the applicant to have, because they don't know, and I think it's helpful for them to know when, it says typically, right? So it doesn't mean that at all.
So I'm sorry, am I making changes or not making changes?
I think just going through this and maybe if there's anything that's changed here in terms of the, when the meetings are taking place,
Mhm.
update that. But again, just moving this whole piece to the checklist.
Okay,
I mean, there's a section called checklist, so probably should go into the checklist section.
okay. And then
So,
I am adding, insurance is the only thing that wasn't on this checklist, I just noticed. But in regards to insurance, so we have been collecting the insurance, general liability insurance policies of the businesses that apply. But our finance director did point out, and he's gonna do more research on whether or not those policies need to actually include the city of Groton on them. Which the example has been, okay, you pay for a sign, if the sign were to fall and somebody wants to sue. Is, since the city technically reimbursed the money, is the city now liable for the expense? And them having an insurance policy does help cover that, but if the city is not on it, does it still give us that cover even though we're providing the funding for the project?
Well, part of the approval process is working through the planning official
Yeah,
and building and zoning. So if we're talking about hanging a sign, then building and zoning official will have to approve the structure, and the city is not indemnified from, faulty structure if it's inspected by the city. So I think maybe that just sorts itself out organically. Like if we're reimbursing them for something that they, for their business, and their business is insured, and it's paint, that kind of is a no-brainer. But if we're talking about something that is, a physical structure that rolls into traffic and causes an accident, or a sign falls, that sort of thing, I think that's also covered by the fact that building and zoning has a cut on it. Does that make sense?
so as long as it's been approved by building zone that it meets the code, that should be enough to protect the city from
Yeah, I would
any.
imagine that's how it works with everything else they do.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I
I mean,
can't.
if they go out and do an inspection and they pass it, and then the next day the place burns down.
Yeah, the city's not indemnified.
But the only difference is the city's actually reimbursing for this expense. So it's like the city paid for it.
But
not
at the
for-
same time, the city certified that it was safe and approved and all that, so yes, there's an added element, I understand that piece, but at the same time, I think the issue still remains that, how much more can we, I think it's unreasonable to expect a business owner to also name the city of Groton on their insurance policy. I think it's, so that may be a point, and if he researches it and finds that we absolutely have to include it, we'll come back and edit, but for now, unless he's confirmed it, I'm.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. All right, I just want to make sure it was brought before you, so you
Yeah,
guys
please.
can be as transparent of everything that's going on.
So if if we can make those revisions, then hopefully next meeting,
Okay.
then we might be a year into this, we can hopefully improve.
I definitely will say, and as Fallon has mentioned also, there are businesses. So currently, our policy and procedures only cover the TIF district, so that is Bridge Street, Thames Street and Quonic. And some of North Street, we are suggesting to change those in this, but until this is effective, none of those businesses in those areas can actually apply. So, we know the new cafe potentially going down at Avery Point is interested, the Memorial Library is interested, and Par 4 did originally before this application, they were also interested in the program, so, yes. Just to remind us that there are people in.
Even more the reason that we should approve this next one.
So I will work on those edits. I will email Mike to do a just do a little proofread, just to make sure that we are good before our April meeting. Right?
Just text me, ask me to come by and make a paper printout, and I'll go through it in 15 minutes for you.
Okay, all right. We gonna set up a little, okay, I got that. Okay.
Sorry, you just have.
Okay, so we do a mic for this. All right, so we only got like 19 minutes because we got a busy night tonight, so. The other thing on here is for, as far as programming ideas, we are, obviously, we know we have business soft costs, we have our minor facade improvement grant, we are working with WBDC to finalize our contract with them for our American Rescue Plan funds for small business support. They have given me a time where they could launch the program as early as April 15th if we are able to get our contract signed. With that being the case, we could have potentially our meet and greet on April 17th and roll out that project and maybe invite Sectorize other people who are doing stuff to come, and it'll just be one big powwow. I was thinking of, I'll be reaching out to Par 4 and thinking about hosting it there somewhere. That would be a nice location for all of us to gather at next. There's more, obviously, there are more details and everything, and as that kind of unfolds, I will share that with the commission. Also, I did send you guys other program ideas, so we are gonna move forward with the April. Just keep in mind, National Small Business Week is April 20th, 28th through May 4th. Also, a couple years ago, we did a happy hour cruise within River Heritage Foundation that sponsored Avery Point. We could do that again, so I wanted to put that on our radar if that was something that we wanted to program. And then lastly but not least, the Groton City Blue Run is on September 7th. That is that is an event in and of itself, so we should brainstorm if we want to do anything else with these opportunities.
The list that we produced last year of the places to eat in town might be useful for Small Business Week.
Okay,
To repurpose that list and
Okay.
publish it, just a reminder, support your local small
okay,
eateries.
Well, I was even thinking, I wonder, especially for our newer businesses, especially because we have quite a few of the ones that we open, I think if we maybe. New businesses or in general, I wonder if we put in the next newsletter that goes out, especially for the business newsletter, if any small businesses want to be highlighted that week. I mean, I think that's a great week for, EDC or, whoever to do like a social media takeover and do, if there are a couple businesses that are willing to be spotlighted, it's just do like a post and maybe a couple that week. So if we can, get that into the newsletter and just have them like email you if they're interested. And then from there, I think the commissioners can get involved in trying to put together like what those posts would look like. And I think we could talk about that in April, but if you can get that into a newsletter and get some names prior to the April meeting, I don't know, the newsletter I think will go out.
the next newsletter, the next general newsletter goes out on the March 12th. Do you mind doing me just like a blurb of what you think that should say?
Yeah. I'll do
And
that. And then I think, if we get some people who are interested, I think we can highlight a couple businesses on the session.
So deja vu tingle from when you got your new camera and we're gonna do all those business
Business spotlight.
spotlight.
Still want to do it, though. Oh my gosh. I have to say, I've been, sorry. All right, so I got about 15 more minutes. Are there any other questions about the programming?
No.
All right.
I apologize, I've got to be across town at 7 o'clock sharp.
Oh,
Where's my stuff?
all right, thank you. Appreciate your time. Obviously, as far as meetings, there is a special meeting that's being held tonight for P and Z. They're also having a regular meeting on March 19th. And then on March 26th, I've partnered with Public Works and Baker Cove Watershed to host a good housekeeping it's basically about frogs, not frogs, but fat, grease, oils is what not to flush or dump down the drain. To talk about stormwater best practices and what property owners can do. All right, so quickly moving then to the EDC grant submissions. We have two, Barkin Pumpkins LLC has basically completed everything. They did, provide an insurance policy before tonight's meetings, and I have extra copies of that in case you need it. We already know this is for siding. They spent over $26,000 for this, asking for $2,500 for their reimbursements, and they have met all the requirements to date. So my questions are, does the application meet, is the application eligible for this program? I'm sorry, I am going through this really quickly.
Yes.
But
It is.
Yes.
does the project align with the program goals?
Yes.
Yes.
And what is the recommended amount of funding for reimbursement from the DCC?
Yeah, I recommend full amount.
They got the permit, because I don't know, Mariette actually retired.
Yes, Marriott retired,
But she was saying there was still an issue with the permit, or is that?
so that got cleared up.
Oh, okay.
We were able to, Scott was able to go down. He understands everything that's going on, and he gave them their certificate of approval for the siding. That is closed out.
Okay.
Marriott has retired, but I'm working with Lisa and Elise, who will follow this project. Next then is Twisted Misty for their sign, they're applying for the sign, they have all their information in, taxes are completely paid for that. Does this project meet our?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Does it align with our project goals?
Yes.
And what is our recommended amount for funding? She's asking for $888.39.
$888.39.
No.
877. Sorry.
Okay. Take your word for it, Sierra.
$77.39.
Where'd the extra $10 or so go?
Yeah, so.
What's the difference?
Unapproved sales tax.
Really good, too.
All right. Do we have to? We don't do official votes for these.
I think we do, actually. That's what I was gonna ask you.
Sorry.
I'll make a motion to accept the applications and the reimbursement for Twisted Misty and Barking Pumpkins.
Can we do them at,
Or should we
okay,
do
do them
separately?
both it, or should
We
we
should
do?
do them separately.
Okay, so for Barking Pumpkins, Margaret first.
For discussion, we're accepting the application, but we're also recommending to the council that they fund the request. Right. Okay.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
We almost heard
How
Alan.
as- He just as not,
Yeah, I think you're on
he's
mute.
not here since he left.
Well, he left, yes.
Okay.
Okay.
All right,
Second motion.
I'll make the second motion to approve the application for Barking Pumpkin.
Can you put
Sorry,
them in?
please.
Oh, Twisted- yeah, I thought you said
I'll second.
When I did
I
both,
see,
yeah.
yeah, so Twisted Misty, sorry.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Great, it's moved. Great.
The only other thing that I sent to you guys is we will have Tasty Tuesdays here at the Municipal Building. Food trucks will be here starting every Tuesday, starting March 19th. From 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. there'll be a food truck here, at the Municipal Building, and maybe closer to the pavilions, that way people have places to sit for lunch and gather. So Mayor's office and our events committee is putting this together.
Hope they have a good turnout. Yeah, I sent it to a couple people. Well, it's tough time.
I mean-
But
But honestly, if you are getting feedback, like it's a nice program, but the time is awkward, send that feedback back to Jackie, because she,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
Well, for the,
for the Tasty Tuesdays.
Yeah.
Because they're looking for vendors and just general community feedback.
11 to 2.
11 to.
Oh, yeah.
So it's a lunchtime thing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Which I understand for the food trucks, you
It's
know.
perfect for me.
Look, I don't know what you're talking about. All right,
Maybe something sometime interesting, at around 3 to 6. So people leaving work and stop and pick up dinner on their way.
yeah, that's,
Good,
yeah, that's what farmers market, perfect.
yeah.
Yeah, that timing.
You could even, you know, if you're gonna pursue that time frame, you could even go 2 p.m. on. Because there's a large component that leaves electric vote every day at, 2:15.
Oh, so you can go almost 11 to 3.
Sure. Yeah, that might actually,
That's a long time for those trucks.
it is, but if it's profitable,
Yeah,
that last hour, they could be absolutely slammed.
exactly.
And community members don't usually go to electric boats, like how
Well, that's
the
what
food trucks are
I'm
out there.
Hard, so-
They don't go there because there's nowhere for them to go, but for at least here.
There's some turnover up there. There's a little more sidewalk space. Yeah.
Well, we're moving it.
Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
Thank you all for a great meeting and getting through all of that information. Very quickly, yes, we did. We did.
Thanks,
Thank you
Val.
all
Thanks,
so
Val.
much.
Bye.
Bye.
Have a great evening, everyone. Bye.
I am not.
That's to say, you look awfully comfortable.